This is the bit that's always a bit awkward. Are we live? Are we not live? Who knows? The little circle is circling. It says I'm live. So, hello everyone, if there's anyone out there. I'm hoping that there is. Good to be here on today's World Spiritual Association launch party event. It's absolutely great to be here and to kind of see all of you, although I can't actually see you, of course. But I'm hoping you can see me, and I'm hoping that you can hear me. I'm going to assume that I'm live. But I know that there's a delay with Facebook. So you would do me a great favor if you were to say in the comments, hello, Brian, we can hear you and we can see you. Hi, Wilma, I can see that you're here, so that's a good sign. Hopefully, I'm audible and uh, legible as well as visible. So, um, while we're letting people bump on, I'm just going to check that my setup here is okay because I'm doing this for the first time on a new webcam, which probably isn't the best choice when you're doing a major event to start trying out new technology. But there we go. Great. Brant, Wilma, yeah, Leslie, yeah, you're all saying that you can hear me and you can see me. So that's great. Good stuff. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. And yeah, this is my tarot t-shirt and my it's a tribute to my cat Maya, of course, who is somewhere in the vicinity. She might make an appearance, who knows? It's not actually from a tarot deck though. Quite a few people have asked me that. Is this from an actual tarot deck? And as far as I know, it's not. And actually it's called Oh, I don't know if you can see this without me showing you my terrible Bermuda shorts. The Protector. The Protector. It's number 13, which is usually, of course, death, but this one on this t-shirt is called the Protector, which I think is rather lovely. So, enough waffling. While we're waiting for others to jump on and catch up, I'm just going to introduce myself to you, give you a bit of an idea of who I am and why I'm here. So, my name is Brian Cormac Carr, as you can tell from my profile page. I'm a charity chief executive. I work in Birmingham in the UK, but I'm originally from Scotland. And I've been a life coach as a sideline. My main job is as charity chief executive of a local community support charity here in Birmingham. But I've had a sideline as a life coach for about 12 years, and I've been a tarot student for close to 30 years. I picked up my first tarot deck and had my first tarot reading and started doing tarot readings when I was about 18. And so it's nearly 30 years that I have been working with tarot and 12 years that I've been working with coaching. And my mission, if you like, my mission in life, my purpose for being here and doing the work that I do is to help soulful, creative people like the people who are in this conference and who are watching this to get in touch with, to find and realize their glorious, juicy dreams, the things that they really want to do with their life, no matter how big or how small. And I've written a couple of books on how to do this. Vital Vocation was my first book, which was about finding or creating a career of your dreams. And I also wrote a book on healthy eating and fitness. But the subject I'm talking about today, of course, is tarot and coaching. And uh, I love coaching, I love tarot, and I think they work really well together. And given that this is a spiritual conference, the topic that I'm actually going to be covering is, of course, spiritual coaching and tarot. So I can see that lots of people are jumping on now from all over the place. LA, California, we've got people from Toronto. I see some familiar names in there as well. I'm not going to name check everyone because it wouldn't be fair to say hello to some and not others, but I'm so pleased to see so many of you here. And I want to say a big thank you to the WSA team for putting this launch party together. They've done a great job as always, and I hope that you all have a really fantastic time. I'm sure that you will. So here's how this session is going to work. I am going to give my presentation for the next little while, and it will be partially interactive. So what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have got a deck of tarot cards nearby, that's great. You can use them. You don't need them though. But if you do have them, I'm going to ask you to grab them and take from the deck all of the major arcana cards and set the rest of the cards aside. So we'll only be working with the major arcana cards during this session. Um, But as I say, you don't need to have a deck. I'll show you how you can still engage with the exercises we're going to do, even if you don't have a deck next to you. In fact, I can give you a bit of a preview of why that is. If you look up, oh no, I'm back to front on the screen, so I'm going the wrong way. There, if you look up there behind me, you'll see I have arranged on the whiteboard my Major Arcana cards from the giant Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Now, I know it's a bit blurry, so apologies for that, but you broadly will understand which card you're looking at when you come to pick a card, because that's what we will be doing as part of this spiritual coaching session. And I am actually going to guide you through an actual group spiritual coaching session. Now, the other thing I want to say to you is I'm very happy to take questions, and I'll try and take questions at the end. What I will ask you to do is, if you've got a question, if you could just hold it until the end, and then I'll tell you when it's question time. And so I don't miss it, if you could write question in capitals in the comments and then your question, and that way I'll see it and I'll get to it. And if I don't have time to answer your question during this session, because we only have an hour, if you don't have time for that, if I don't have time for that rather, still please do write a question, because I promise I'll come back into the comments later on and I will go through and I will answer every question in the comments, provided I can answer them, of course. So, if you're going to ask me the atomic weight of lead or something, I'm not going to be able to help you. Google will be your friend for things like that. But if it's relating to tarot or coaching or spiritual coaching, then ask away. I am an open book. So, so let's get on with the topic at hand, which is spiritual coaching and tarot. And I've titled this presentation, Let the Cards Ask the Questions, which gives you a bit of a clue to what we're going to be doing with the cards a bit later on. But first of all, let's have some definitions, because we talk about things like spirituality and tarot and coaching and so on. I don't think I need to define tarot for the people on this group, and I don't really need to define coaching and spirituality. But since we're going to be talking about spiritual coaching, I thought it would be useful just to take a look at what people mean by spirituality, and hopefully it'll be useful for you as you go through the rest of this conference as well, relevant to other sessions that you'll be participating in. So I just dug around a bit through some of my books and my papers to see if I could find some useful definitions of both spirituality and coaching. So starting with spirituality, I actually found a really good resource, and I'll post a link to this when I finish this presentation. I'll go back and I'll start I'll put the links to the things that I'm referring to into the comments, so you'll be able to go back and find them. And this comes from the Earl E. Bakken Center for Spirituality and Healing at the University of Minnesota. And they put together a really interesting article on different people's definitions of spirituality. And they have a few of their own, so I'll read those first, and then there's some definitions from experts. You're going to be the expert by the end of this session, but you'll hear from some other experts as well. So the Earl E. Bakken Center for Spirituality and Healing says that spirituality could be defined as a sense of connection to something bigger than ourselves. It typically involves a search for meaning in life and universal human experience. It can also mean a sense of sacredness or transcendence, or simply a deep sense of aliveness and interconnectedness. Um, it also could be a personal relationship with what you might conceive of as a higher power, which some people call God or Goddess or Allah or Brahman or Yahweh or Great Spirit, or some other more secular names like the universe with a capital U, life with a capital L, nature with a capital N, all that is, the collective, the field, the absolute, the ground of being, etc., etc. I'm sure many of you will have definitions of your own. And if you do, please do feel free to pop them into the comments. And I see from the comments we've got more people arriving from various places, including some people quite close to me. Hi, Joe from Derbyshire. You're not all that far from my part of the world. And I noticed a couple of people saying they've been doing their Ostara rituals and getting things ready for Ostara. And I hope you like, again, I'm going the wrong way. Am I? No, there it is. My Ostara goddess hanging. That actually comes from a lady called Wendy Andrew, who does at a website called Painting Dreams, and she does a wall hanging for 8 folk art goddesses, she calls them, and really they each relate to the 8 stations on the Wheel of the Year. So they're really lovely, and I've just put this one up today because it's that getting close to that time of year. So also, I'm reliably informed that this is International Day of Happiness. So it's an auspicious day, and not least an auspicious day because we're all here together in this event. Okay, so back to the definitions of spirituality. Another definition from the Earl E. Backen Centre is that this is the place where we can consider big questions like how can I be a good person? What is the meaning of my life and my suffering, the difficulties in my life? What's my connectedness to the world around me? Do things happen for a reason? And how can I live my life in the best way possible? These are all the big spiritual questions that we might be asking. And here are some definitions from some other experts. And as I said, you're going to be the expert in your own spirituality. I'm sure you are already, but certainly this session is geared towards helping people become the experts in their own spirituality. But it is quite interesting to see what some other auspicious people have said. So, Christina Puchalski, who's a doctor and is the director of the George Washington Institute for Spirituality and Health, says spirituality is the aspect of humanity that refers to the way individuals seek and express meaning and purpose, and the way they experience their connectedness to the moment, to self, to others, to nature, and to the significant or sacred. So that's a rather lovely definition, I think. And then two authors and researchers who wrote the book, The Spiritual Blame, that does not make sense. The Spiritual Brain say spirituality means any experience that is thought to bring the experiencer into contact with the divine. In other words, not just any experience that feels meaningful, but one that brings the experiencer into contact with what he or she or they experience as the divine. And then teaching nurses Ruth Beckman Murray and Judith Proctor Zenter, who've written various textbooks for nurses, those of you who are nurses may have heard of them, say the human being's spiritual dimension tries to be in harmony with the universe and strives for answers about the infinite. It comes into focus when the person faces emotional stress, physical illness, or death. And I know that many of you, I suspect that many of you who've ever faced challenges like a serious illness or some kind of emotionally stressful event, major event, or the death of a loved one, will understand that. You'll understand what can happen at those intense personal periods where, whether we sometimes want to be or not, are brought into contact with something bigger and larger and deeper and more profound than we perhaps had conceived of before. So those are some definitions of spirituality. And now a couple of definitions of coaching, since we're talking about spiritual coaching. And then we're going to put them together, and I'm going to give you my own definition of spiritual coaching, which I hope will be useful to you. So I've actually got four definitions of coaching here. The first one comes from the Association for Coaching, and it defines coaching as a collaborative, solutions focused, result oriented, and systematic process in which the coach facilitates the enhancement of the personal growth of the coachee. So the important thing there is it's about facilitating and enhancing. It's not about doing for. So coaches and spiritual coaches aren't doing anyone's spirituality for them. It is about, of course, helping people find their own way to their own spirituality. The International Coach Federation defines coaching as a professional partnership between a qualified coach and coachee that supports the achievement of extraordinary results based on goals set by the coachee. So again, very self-directed. And when we go on to talk about spiritual coaching, like any kind of coaching, you'll see that I emphasize that it is very much about being self-directed by the person doing the exploration. The British Psychological Society has an interesting definition, and theirs is quite psychologically based, as you'd expect. They say coaching is for enhancing well-being and performance in personal life and work domains, and it's underpinned by models that are grounded in established adult and child psychological learning approaches. Now, that sounds very mental, doesn't it? Very, very up here in the realm of the mind, very much the kind of swords area, if you want to think of it in tarot terms. But when you consider that the original definition of psyche, of course, was much more than psychological. It was much closer to what we now would call spiritual, much more holistic, um, much more broad and inclusive. You'll see that it's actually quite a powerful definition because if you reword it, it says coaching is for enhancing well-being and performance in personal life and work domains and is underpinned by models that are grounded in established adult and child spiritual learning approaches. So you can see how that definition can be adopted. My own personal favorite definition at the moment of coaching, it does change over time, but at the moment, my favorite one comes from, it actually comes from a book that is considered a seminal book in coaching. So those of you who are coaches will probably have heard of this, and that's Coaching for Performance by Sir John Whitmore. And in that book, he describes coaching as follows. It's unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It's helping them to learn rather than teaching them, and it's a powerful alliance designed to forward and enhance a lifelong process of human learning, effectiveness, and fulfillment. And I think that's an important definition because it also helps us to consider when we talk about spirituality and we're in the spiritual realms, it helps us to consider the difference between spirituality and religion. In spirituality, it's about us finding out for ourselves what we believe, whereas in religion, we generally are being asked to accept some predetermined belief systems. And I'm not commenting at this point whether that's good or bad or indifferent. It's just the way that it is. You know, religions usually have specific religious texts that people are expected to be aware of and work within and so on. So that gives you a sense of the difference between spirituality and religion and how it might play out in a coaching context. Now, I promised to give you my definition of spiritual coaching. So I'm going to do that, if I can just move things around to my satisfaction, by holding up the definition in case you want to, um, uh, do a screenshot of this, if you think it's useful. But this is how I define spiritual coaching. I say that spiritual coaching helps you connect to who you truly are by providing you with a safe, supported space in which to explore the profound wisdom accessing questions that lead you to your own life affirming revelations and insights. Quite a mouthful, I know. Spiritual coaching helps you to connect to who you truly are by providing you with a safe, supported space in which to explore the profound wisdom accessing questions that lead you to your own life affirming revelations and insights. And, of course, you could in this replace spiritual coaching with lots of other modalities, including tarot. Some people would say that tarot does that on its own. And although this session is going to be about doing the a mix of tarot and coaching, I'm not in any way saying that you need to mix the two together. I mean, tarot is a great thing in its own right. So is coaching. It's just that when you bring them together, all kinds of interesting things happen. Now, Kathy's asking how you do a screenshot. Now, you're asking, Joe, you've come to the rescue. Joe is going to send Kathy a screenshot, which is greatly relieving to me because I am not at all technically minded. So I think you do, if you are doing a screenshot, I think you do print screen on your keyboard and then you paste the image into something like PowerPoint or something like that. I say that as though I know what I'm talking about. Or you could take a picture with your phone, of course. That would be the other thing. But you've got a screenshot, and this video will be available after the session, so you can go back and grab that definition if you like it. So, just something else to comment on in relation to coaching. And Karen is saying, now I know why you wanted the Posca pens. She loves my hold-up boards. Now, this is a bit of a thing in my presentations. I do flip charts, I do hold-up boards with pens, mainly because it is a massive technological achievement for me to even be on screen with you and having got my camera to work and my microphone to work. So trying to do things like PowerPoints and so on would just be putting a bit too much onto me. So thank you, Karen. And yeah, they're great, aren't they? I love the colours of Posca pens on card. So anyway, getting back to the task at hand. So in relation to coaching, one of the things that I think it's really important to know is that the most powerful coaching tool that any coach can have, and I don't care what discipline you're in coaching, it can be health coaching or financial coaching or relationship coaching or life coaching or career coaching or spiritual coaching, any kind of coaching you care to mention, the most powerful coaching tool any coach will ever have is the power, the ability to ask profound wisdom accessing questions. And if I had to lose all of my coaching skills, I studied coaching several years ago and became certificated, and I do regular kind of um, ongoing professional development sessions in coaching to keep my skills up. But if I was told that I had to lose all of my coaching skills apart from one, the one I would keep is the ability to ask questions, good, empowering questions, because those questions are the key to all the answers that anyone would ever hope to achieve in a coaching session. And if you can ask those questions of yourself or your clients, if you are a coach or a therapist or a tarot reader or a healer, and you are involved in talking to your clients and helping them find their way to answers, if you can ask them powerful questions, then you're off to the races. So what I want to talk about in this session is actually a model that I developed that applies to both coaching and tarot, and it's about bringing those questions very much to the forefront. Because quite often, when we go to coaches, or if we are going for a tarot reading and going to see a tarot reader, we're kind of going, most of us, because we're seeking answers, are we not? That's usually why we go, isn't it? And what I'm offering to you is the suggestion that it might actually be more empowering sometimes, instead of going to the tarot deck if you're doing a reading for yourself, or to a tarot session with somebody else, or a coaching session, instead of going seeking answers, what if we went seeking empowering wisdom accessing questions? And this is the model that I want to share with you. Again, I'm just moving things on my screen so I can see that you can see. um, I call this about tapping into, now that is the way my finger goes, there is the well of wisdom. I got there in the end. This is so weird. I'm back to front. I don't quite understand this. Um, the well of wisdom, and the well of wisdom is what we tap in to when we combine the client, the coach, and the questions. Another way of saying this would be um, the tarot reader, no, the tarot querent, the tarot reader, and the cards. If the cards bring questions with them, that is, and I'll show you in a second how they absolutely do. Um, so client, coach, and questions coming together creates this ability to tap into the well of wisdom. And there's nothing more powerful than that, because that's how you access the wisdom. And by the way, of course, the client and the coach can be the same person. If you're doing a reading for yourself, you are actually both of these. I'll do it this way. You are both of these beings. You are both the client and the coach. So if you're doing a reading for yourself, which is absolutely, or coaching yourself, doing self-coaching for yourself, which is absolutely possible, you're inhabiting both of those territories. You're being the person who needs the guidance, and the person who facilitates the getting of the guidance. But that happens when you add the questions into the mix that allow you to tap into the well of wisdom. And so So this is where things are going to get interactive. So what I want you to do is have your cards at the ready. If you have them, remember it is majors only. And what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be using a resource that I'm going to give you. Some of you have got this already, and it's a free PDF guide. Let me just access it. Now, I'm not going to give you the URL for this at this particular moment in time, because I know what will happen. If I give you the URL for it, you're going to go rushing off trying to download it, and it does involve giving an email address, and then you get sent link and so on. So it could be a bit complicated if we're trying to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to guide you through this process, and we are all going to use this resource together. And then once we've done that and you see how it works, I'll give you the link and you can have your very own copy. So just relax, trust the process, all will be well. So remember, majors only, have your cards at the ready, and if you haven't got your cards at the ready, they are on the back there if you need them. And I should have shown you. This is the guide that I'm going to give you. It is my free download, Tarot Cards as Wisdom Coaches. And what this is actually is a guide that was born from my understanding that accessing powerful questions is so important. And what I did was I actually sat with each of the 22 major arcana cards, and I allowed, sometimes I sat with them for more than a day, depending on the card, and I allowed them to show me the questions that they wanted to ask. So each card in the guide is given, or gives me and gives you, 5 wisdom accessing questions. Now, the exciting news, a bit of a preview, I have done this for all 78 cards in the deck, and a book is going to be coming out fairly soon in which I share with you the whole process and all of the questions for every card in the deck, but the free guide covers just the majors, which is why I've suggested you just pull out the majors. So all beginning to make sense now. So, so we're about to go into a group spiritual coaching session using the cards that you've got and using that resource. So, the way we're going to do this is by doing a meditation. So, I want you to get comfortable because I'm going to guide you through this for a few moments. And this is actually a really lovely meditation to do if ever you feel a bit disconnected from life, if ever you feel a little bit off your game and you just feel a little bit like as we all do, I think at times, this little tiny little thing rattling around through the world, feeling a bit alone. This is a great meditation for helping you get in touch with a sense of connectedness. And in this process, we're going to be connecting it to tarot, but you don't have to. Um, so before you start, or before we start, I'd like you to just consider where you would like some guidance in relation to your spirituality. And I'm going to assume that you would, which is one of the reasons you're here in this conference. So just consider where you'd like some guidance in relation to your spirituality. Um, Maybe it's a specific question that you have. Um, Maybe it's just an area you'd like more guidance in. It can be very precise or it can be very vague. That doesn't matter. Don't overthink it. Just think where you would like some guidance in the area of your spirituality. Uh, Kristen says she's late. You're never late, Kristen. Nobody is late. You can't be too late for this. You're absolutely on time. Whenever you arrive is the right time. And of course, you can watch this back. The video will still be in the will be in the group ready for you. Um, let's just see. So you've got your idea. You're thinking through what you want to consider in relation to spirituality. So I'm going to guide you into this meditation, and at a particular point, I'm going to ask you to pick one of the major arcana cards. And there are 3 ways to do this. Remember, you don't need to do it now. You do it at the particular point in the meditation that I indicate. There are 3 ways of doing it. If you have your deck, you simply shuffle your majors and you select a card from the deck. If you don't have a deck, when I say choose a card, you can just allow one of the major arcana cards to arise in your consciousness. Just come to your mind, and whichever one comes to your mind is the right one. Or if you want a prompt, you can glance at my whiteboard somewhere behind me in the background and see where your eye lands. And whatever major card your eye alights on, that is your card. And once we've done that, I'll show you what comes next. Okay? So let's begin. Can you hear that? That's my stomach rumbling. What a great way of getting into a meditation. Who needs one of those little temple bell things? In Brian's meditations, his stomach rumbles and we all relax. So, settle comfortably. What I'd like you to do is just take 3 deep breaths. Your eyes open, just relaxed, natural. Come into this moment. And I'll do it with you. 3 deep breaths. Okay, wonderful. Now, you can gently close your eyes if you like, or you can keep them open in a soft gaze ahead. Just allow your gaze to soften and to unfocus slightly. You might want to place your hand on your heart, just gently or not, up to you. Just get comfortable. And now, with your eyes closed or softly gazing, we're going to take 3 more slow, deep breaths. And we're going to relax more deeply with each one. Last one at your own pace. Now, I want you to just notice where in your body you experience the presence of your own spirit. Again, don't overthink this. Where does your attention go when I say that? Maybe it goes to your belly. Maybe it goes to your heart, where some of you have got your hand. Maybe it goes to your third eye. Maybe it goes to a space somewhere behind your head or somewhere above your head. Maybe it's in your left kneecap. It does not matter. Just notice. Where does your attention go? Where do you experience the presence of your own spirit? Now, wherever that space is, just notice that it's beginning to glow softly and gently with a beautiful, calm, kind light. It's very gently and softly at first, but getting brighter and stronger, still soft and gentle. It's possible to be bright, strong, soft and gentle all at the same time. And it's growing and spreading throughout your body now. Just gently, just observe the light glowing and growing. And soon the light's filling all of your body. Every cell of your body glowing and bathed in this beautiful, soft, kind, healing light. And it's growing and spreading beyond the edges of your body now. Just notice as it goes outward, beyond your body, still in your body and beyond your body. Now the light isn't just inside your body is inside the light. And it's growing and spreading further and further now. It's going beyond the boundaries of the room that you're in. It's growing beyond the boundaries of the building that you're in. Softly growing, glowing, kind, gentle light. Beyond the boundaries of the town, beyond the boundaries of the country, beyond the boundaries of the continent you're in. Growing and growing, beyond the boundaries even of the planet. Eternal and infinite, this light that you are. And as this happens, gently and softly, I want you to become aware that the light that came from you and that has grown in its vastness has joined with the light coming from everyone else in this meditation. And it is, in fact, the same light. And just rest for a moment, feeling safe and at home and connected in this light, this huge spirit in which we all live, move, and have our being. Notice that it has no boundaries in time or in space. You can't find the edge of it. You can't find the beginning of it or the end of it. It just always was and always will be. Rest gently for a moment or two more, connected, calm, at peace. Now, allow the light to show you something. It's giving you a gift. And this gift appears to you in the form of one of the tarot cards of the major arcana. Maybe it appears in your consciousness now, in your mind's eye. Maybe now you're gently shuffling your cards and you're drawing one of the cards from the pile of major cards that you have. Maybe you're opening your eyes slightly and glancing at the whiteboard behind me, and you see with absolute certainty that wherever your eye alights, that's your card. You receive whatever card you receive gratefully. No judgment, no matter what card it is. Each card is completely equal as a gift. So you have this gift of spirit now. You've been given this gift of spirit. So now I want you to take 3 more deep breaths. And as you do this with this card, notice that the light remains vast and complete and connected. But your consciousness, your awareness, begins to travel back to where you are, where your body is. So 3 deep breaths. Back towards home, back towards the planet. Back towards your continent, your country. Back towards your town. Back to the building that you're in. Back to the room that you're in. Back to your body. Now, just notice whether your consciousness returns to where the light came from, or if it finds its way to another place. Wherever it goes is absolutely fine. Just be aware, just notice. And now, in the knowledge that you have returned fully to your own consciousness, and now with an enhanced awareness of your connectedness to all that is, you're going to slowly become aware of where you're sitting, feeling the chair under your legs, feeling your floor under your feet, slowly aware of where you are sitting. And we'll take 3 more deep breaths. And the light comes out. 3 more deep breaths, and on the last one, we'll open our eyes and we'll be back to full conscious awareness. 3. And 2. And 1. And you're back. So I would recommend that you give yourself a bit of a shake, just move around, wiggle your toes, and just come back to where we were. And I'm just going to move the curtain closed, because although this looks marvelous and it looks like I'm bathed in illumination, I can't actually see anything. So give me 1 second, I'll be back. Ah, yes, marvelous. I managed to conjure the sun right into my face there. So you're back, you're feeling grounded again. You're back where you were. You're back in yourself, and I hope you enjoyed it. The thing I want to invite you to do is to keep that extended awareness with you throughout this event. That sense of connectedness. Don't be afraid of it, because you're still rooted in yourself and your own boundaries. You haven't extended anything that wasn't already connected. What we've done here is we've guided you and you've guided yourself towards a greater awareness of your connection with everything. So it's a beautiful thing. So the second thing I'm going to ask you to do now, and I can see some of you already putting your cards into the chat. So what I'm going to ask you to do first of all is to look at the card that you received. And firstly, before we do anything involving me or the guide or anything like that, you're going to be your own spiritual coach. And so in the context of the question that you had or the issue that you wanted guidance on, have a look at your card, look at the card you picked, and ask yourself, what question does this card have for me? And just allow any question that might come up to arise. Just to see what you think the card might be asking you. Not telling you, but asking you. Imagine the card is a loving friend and it's asking you a really helpful question. Okay, so Wilma's got blinking in her peripheral vision. That will be, well, all kinds of strange things can happen now. We have been into all kinds of strange dimensions. So, right. So now what I'm going to ask, I was actually going to ask for volunteers, but so many of you have put cards in the chat. I'm going to, if it's all right with you, I'm going to pick one. And then let me just get my guide up here. I've got to remember my password to get into it, of course. Why do I always have such long passwords? Right, okay. So I am just going to go randomly. I'm going to say, right, okay. Anne-Marie Woodward, you picked the Sun card. So what we're going to do in my guide is we're going to go to, now you see the guide has got questions for each of the cards. Are you seeing this, by the way? I've covered up the, there we are. Yeah, you might not see it very clearly. That's better. So each card of the major arcana has got its own page and has got its own questions. And so we're going to go to the Sun card and we're going to see what questions are prompted by the Sun card. Okay, and you can do this for any card in the majors. So Anne-Marie, here are some questions for you to contemplate. And you don't need to say anything about what these questions are, what your issue is about or anything like that. So just take this in, and I invite everyone to take this in as though this were your card. Even if you didn't pick the Sun, the fact that we've identified this as part of this collective process means it's for you as well. Here are the questions that the Sun asks. Number 1, what positive quality lies at your very core? Number 2, what activities make you feel most vital and energized, and how might you build more of these into your life? Number 3, into which dim internal places do you most need to shine a light, and what is it that you need to see? Number 4, if you knew you couldn't make a mistake, where would you direct your personal power and to what end? And number 5, how might you warm and enlighten the life of another today? Okay, so that gives you an example of, let's see. Okay, Diana, Chariot, you have got the Chariot. Now I'm picking the Chariot because I love the Chariot. In fact, I have got a picture of the Chariot on my wall. And it's also my birth card. So I feel very attached to the Chariot. And Diana has shared that part of her question is, which direction am I going in? Well, of course, with this method, that question will be met with other questions. So here are the questions that the Chariot asks. So there you are, Chariot page. The Chariot asks, number 1, how might you best achieve stillness in the midst of motion? Number 2, if you were confident in your next steps, where would you steer your chariot? Number 3, for what cause would you be prepared to fight, and what does this reveal to you about yourself? Is the ... there. Number 4, what needs an extra push from you at this point? And what needs you to pull on the reins? Number 5, how might you better embrace the never-ending dance of change? Okay, so we're going to take one more just so you get a sense of how this works, and then I'm going to give you the link where you can get this for yourself. So let me just, I'm just doing this completely randomly. Mark Figliola has, I hope I pronounced that properly, Mark. I apologize if not. Wheel of Fortune, the Wheel of Fortune. So let's see what the Wheel of Fortune asks us. The Wheel of Fortune asks, if you knew you couldn't possibly fail, what would you next set in motion? Number 2, in what area of your life are you spinning? And how might you adjust these circumstances? Number 3, how do you feel when you remember that you can't have an up without a down? Number 4, what does cause and effect mean to you? And what effect do you most want to cause? And number 5, how might you find the center of your wheel? And how will you know when you found it? So, that is the process of finding a card, picking a card, either through that meditation process or doing it in a reading, and then using the guide to consider the questions. And I can see in the chat that many of you have come up with cards, and you've also come up with the question that the card is suggesting to you, which is amazing. So, you know, anyone can do this. You don't need this guide to be able to do it. You can do this not just with the major cards, you can do it with any card in the deck. Now, a couple of things just to suggest to you. The first of all, um, you might want to consider the card that you picked in that meditation process and consider it your guardian card throughout the rest of this event. And that might mean allowing yourself to notice where the energy and the gifts of this card show up for you in this event throughout the rest of the event. Just again, noticing. Now, I promised you the PDF guide and where to get it. I know that some of you have got it already, but those who don't have it, you can grab it here. www.cormaccar.com/free tarot guide. And that's all, of course, in one line, and that's free tarot guide in one word with no spaces. Just to explain to you what will happen, it will take you to a landing page. You'll be asked to put your name and your email address in. If you're already on my mailing list, what will happen is you'll put them in and you'll be sent the guide straight away into your inbox. If you're not already on my mailing list, you'll need to confirm your subscription. And then once you've done that, the guide will be sent to you. So a couple of things to say. One, just give it a few minutes because sometimes if lots of people are trying to download it or access it at the same time, the system's a little bit slow. Number 2, if you put your details in and you don't get anything, check your spam folder. If you check your spam folder and there's nothing there and you've given it a bit of time, you might want to put your details in again because believe it or not, sometimes people just type things in slightly wrong. If after all that you still haven't got it, contact me. You can email me, you can message me here in Facebook in the group. I'll make sure that you get a copy of the guide one way or another. So that is how to access the guide. So I hope you enjoy that. So we're nearly at the end. We've got just a few more minutes left. So I want to just make a couple of other suggestions for you. And then I've got a little spread for you, a little gift. So get yourself ready again to do a screen capture because I'll show you the spread in a second. So some suggestions for you to take this a bit further. One, you can come up with your own wisdom accessing questions for any of the cards, including the majors. So I would invite you to just sit down, look at the cards, consider what they might be asking you, and add to the ones I've got in my guide. Make them your own. I mentioned earlier, it's a good idea to see the cards as your friends. Now, sometimes they can be quite tough, hard-nosed friends. I noticed somebody in the chat was saying, "Oh, I've got the tower," and of course there are certain cards. No matter how enlightened we are about the way that tarot works, there are certain cards when they come up. Most of us feel a bit of a sense of inside. You know, if it's death or the tower, then we might feel a little bit uncomfortable. But just think of them as friends that are coming to you with questions, helpful questions. They might be tough, hard-nosed questions, but they'll be helpful questions that are best for your spirit. The other thing you can do is you can go through all the other cards in the deck, the minor cards and the court cards, and come up with your own questions for those. And as I say, I'll shortly be releasing a book in which I will be doing exactly that, along with some other exercises that are all about spiritual coaching and tarot. So watch out for that. And if you're on my mailing list, if you download the guide, then you will hear about that, because I'll be in touch with you. I won't spam you with lots of blather, but when important things happen, like new releases, I'll let you know. So we've got 10 minutes left, so I'm going to share with you a spread, and then I'll quickly take any questions if there are any. If there are not, that's absolutely fine. Here is the spread. I just call this my spiritual. Oh, hang on, let me just get you back. So I can see what I'm doing. So this is how to explore. Can I do this in a way that allows you to see it and me to see it? Oh, this could be awkward. Allows you to explore your spirituality. And I know this is a bit unclear, so I'm going to tell you what each of the positions means. So it's a spread that you arrange into this kind of cross arrangement. 5 cards. I'm still not. I've got such terrible spatial awareness at the best of times, but when I'm back to front, it's even worse. So the first card in the middle, that's the heart of your spirituality. And remember, if you're using the system I've just described, you can use this spread just as a normal spread, by the way. But if you're using the system I've described, then you'll get questions, a set of questions for each one of these cards when you use the Wisdom Coach's Guide. So number 1 is the heart of your spirituality. Number 2 at the bottom is what grounds your spirituality. Number 3 at the top is what elevates your spirituality. And then, better, number 4 at the left is the gift your spirituality gives you, that you receive from your spirituality. And number 5 is the gift that you give other people and the world and life and everything with your spirituality. So, as I say, you can do this just as a normal spread, or if you do it just with the majors, you can just interpret the majors as you would normally, or you can, for each of these positions, consider which of the wisdom accessing questions would be appropriate. And one of the things I like to do sometimes is when I'm using the Wisdom Coach's Guide, is there are 5 questions per card. So sometimes I have a dice or a die, if you want to be absolutely grammatically correct. And when you get a card, let's say the Wheel of Fortune, you throw the die. If you get numbers 1 to 5, that tells you which of the 5 questions to go for. If you get number 6, that means you've got to choose. So you use the die if you don't want to have to pick one. That's just another nice way of adding some extra divinatory power into the mix. So just a reminder of the link, cormaccar.com, www.cormaccar.com/free tarot guide. Give me a shout if you have any problems. So that's the end of my presentation, and I hope you've enjoyed it. We've got 7 minutes left, so if you have got any questions, pop them in the chat and I'll try and answer them. There is one question actually that does come up quite often, so I'll just preempt you by answering this even before you've asked it. And that is, some people have asked me, wouldn't this create a rather complicated situation where you are going to the tarot or to a spiritual coaching session with a question, and you do this process and you get more questions? Couldn't that be confusing? Well, the answer is yes, it could, if you allow yourself to spin. I call it spinning, where you just go from question to question to question. So this is where a bit of discipline comes in. So what I would recommend is that you define what it is you're trying to explore, the question you're trying to ask, the issue you need help with, and then when you come to this process, you design your spread, or you pick a spread, or you just use one card spread and you pick a card, and then you've been given a set of wisdom accessing questions. This is the point when you get the wisdom accessing questions that you've identified. This is the point where you discipline yourself to become contemplative. So you don't then just say, oh, I don't understand that question, I'll pull another card just to see what it asks me. No, you sit with that question. You give yourself time to really contemplate the question, really go deep with it. And there's no rush. You know, you could spend minutes, hours, days sitting in any one of these questions. They're profound, powerful questions that are designed to provoke a contemplative state within you. And if you combine it with meditation, as we've done here, it can be really, really powerful. So I don't see any other questions coming up. So that's absolutely fine. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments below, even after this presentation is finished. And I will come back into the group later on today and I'll do everything I can to answer them. So I'm going to close now. I'm going to thank you all very much for being here. Again, a big thank you to the WSA team for creating this amazing event. Thank you to all the speakers who have already spoken and all those who are going to speak. I'm going to be catching up with many of them, and I think it's wonderful, and I hope you all have a great time. So my blessings go with you, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Take care, everyone.